Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. We have another epic episode here at the Zen Lounge. We have a special guest today. We have Favio from the Sologenic team. He's also affiliated with the Soloex project, what we've been talking about so much. So he's going to get everybody excited about joining the waitlist and getting excited for the launch of SOLOTEX, which is projected to happen in August. Is that still the timeline, Favio?
Yeah, so we're pretty positive. We have been heads down building the product, and as you know, this is regulated under FINRA, so it does involve a lot of back and forth with the regulators, just trying to get the features that DeFi audiences like you and me would like to have there. So really pushing the envelope there, and Texture Capital has been instrumental as our broker dealer and overall regulatory navigating this regulatory frameworks.
So for those of you that are new to the channel, Solotex is a marketplace for tokenized real-world assets. The broker partner is Texture Capital, FINRA, and SEC registered broker-dealer. And soon you're going to be able to jump from Bitcoin to Tesla without leaving the blockchain. I'm really excited to learn about Sologenic because Fabio is and been with the team, Sologenic and Coreum from as basically as long as I've been with the project. So if you scroll down, you could instantly see here on the Solotex page, it's built by professionals, Texture Capital, who I just mentioned. I mentioned Sologenic. So briefly, there's a lot of new people that are following the Zen Lounge channel. What is Sologenic, Fabio? Can you break that down for us and get people familiar, like the history of where this began?
Absolutely. So Sologenic began in 2020 as a project that was meant to facilitate interacting with the XRP ledger and the built-in functionality that it had and has, right? Um, XRP at the time was a very popular asset already, and the ledger itself is one of the oldest DTL that are live and operating. As you know, I think it's more than 8 years or 10 years. So we saw an opportunity to create a user-friendly interface for either holders or users that wanted to ultimately trade XRP native currencies on a decentralized manner. So Sologenic was born as a DEX, and from there, our vision was always to battle test the technology with digital assets, like I said, XRP native currencies, but ultimately introduce real world assets, which at the time was the term wasn't that popular, right? We used to call it security tokens, but specifically we wanted to focus on stocks. Like we really believed, and to this day, believe that a lot of this shift it has to do with equities and specifically US based equities and having access to these equities on chain under your own self custody really unlocks many perks, including trading after hours, including being able to go from diversify your portfolio from crypto to stocks in one digital wallet. Um, it has to do a lot with the stablecoins too. The accessibility part is being more streamlined overall right now. If you want to get into crypto, you got to go through an on ramp that has like a um, excessive fee and then a spread on top. People that have traded in centralized exchanges might relate to this as well. Um, but yeah, so our vision was to build infrastructure for capital markets, specifically stocks, to be tradable on the blockchain. And since then, their mission hasn't changed. In those 4 or 5 years, we did realize that we needed smart contracts and overall programmability at the protocol level of the blockchain to execute on this vision. So we developed a layer one blockchain called Coreum, and both projects kind of run its course separately, like there were separate development teams. But ultimately, Solotex is where they come together to put this vision into a tangible working product that is regulated in the US. And that's important because a lot of the RWA marketplaces that are currently live, they offer services in Europe or in other offshore jurisdictions. We're actually trying to go US first because, yes, it was definitely the hardest, but as you can see, regulation is changing fast and there's overall more positive sentiment. And we believe that launching here in the US will give us a head start when it comes to just tokenized markets around the world.
Nice. So we have here on the SoloTex website, yeah, that's what got me super pumped up. It shows like the dynamics of Sologenic being the tokenization engine, Coreum being the infrastructure, Texture being like compliance experts, also the broker dealer. So you're basically saying that SoloTex is what's going to bring all these projects, like bring everything together. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, it's one of them. I wouldn't say that it's we're putting all of our eggs in one basket, but this is definitely the most innovative and kind of like the project that is leading the way in terms of RWAs. But that doesn't mean that we are not working on other assets and other marketplaces, perhaps that would add on to this vision.
So, for those of you that aren't familiar too, basically it's really fun. These are like community projects as well. So a lot of us got started holding Sologenic and then basically holding Sologenic for I think over a year, like 12 months. Every single month we were receiving Corium as airdrops. So that's how a lot of us like became a part of Corium. So it's like a community project. So, we actually never had the opportunity. We've had tons of videos, tons of spaces together. We've talked all about Sologenic Coreum, a bunch of times. We've never had the opportunity to actually talk about Solotex. I know you were just at Apex and you did a whole conversation about Solotex, all the cool features about it. I don't think that video came out yet. But can you get us pumped up, get us excited about solo text? Like, why should someone watching this video click the link here and join the web waiting list? Like, if there's going to be any cool benefits for getting on the wait list, like, get us pumped up about the solo text project and the next few months to hold on and wait for August. Like, what's going to be going down?
Oh, definitely. I'm waiting for that recap recording, but I was thinking, why don't I share the slides with you, you know?
Oh, you got the
So I'll
slides?
be,
Let me actually, I think I enable that feature for you. No, share. Multiple. Okay. Let me stop my share real quick. Yeah, if you want to share the slides with us, that'd be sick. So we get the early access. What I'm really excited about is it's like it's gonna be a cheat code because we've been staking Corium, earning Corium, and like we're gonna have all these rewards coming in. Like it's gonna take the speculative thing out of crypto where we could like swap our Corium rewards into like real assets like Tesla or basically the whole New York Stock Exchange, Rich said was going to be available on day one. Yeah.
yeah, that is
Like, how
true.
the fuck is that even possible? Excuse my language. How is that even possible to have just like go off the bat and have the whole New York Stock Exchange launching on day one of the launch?
Well, it has to do, it's telling me that I have to reset Zoom to be able to share.
You sure? I just
Um,
enabled you to be able to share it. Multiple
yeah,
participants.
it's the privacy settings, I guess. Maybe I can just share you the link and you can just go through it easier.
Yeah, okay. I could do it. It says I need access. Let me pause it real quick.
I send you another link. You can,
Okay, we are back. So the first screen says mainstreaming crypto through tokenization with Favio, head of growth for Sologenic. So let me know when you're ready for me to slide through this.
yeah, I'm not gonna do the whole presentation, but I wanted to share it because the scope of this was to really start a discussion about why even bother tokenizing the stock market, right? And you asked me, how is it possible to have from day one, all of these equities that are listed on the New York Exchange and Nasdaq, and that's really it depends on our clearing broker, and as soon as we have those indexes listed, that means that anyone can trade and invest in those individual stocks. Like I wouldn't say that's a roadblock. I think the roadblock was the accessibility part, right? Like how can you fund your trading account and get your crypto into stocks? So that part I have some relevant updates. At the beginning, we thought we would only be able to, start new wallets from scratch and use USDC. But recently, we actually found out that we can actually you can bring your own wallet. So if you have any Coreum wallet already, you can plug it in and directly swap into USDC or other stablecoins that we might support and go into stocks easily. But yeah, this presentation, just answering your question, but this presentation was you can move forward to give context on why stocks specifically, right? Like Apple, Tesla. Think what do you think when you hear the word stocks? If I may ask you, Stan.
Like Apple stock, Microsoft stock, Tesla stock. I'm not well versed in traditional finance though, so
But
yeah,
that's the
that's what I
thing.
think
So
about.
like the thing is like everyone thinks about US equities, like companies that are in the US building the technology that we use on an everyday basis, right? Those are the ones, and that's why we are focusing on allowing access to actually own shares on those companies to Web3 native investors. That's the ethos of Solotex. This slide was just to give some context. You can move past it, but it really has to do with oh yeah, so it really has to do with regulation because in 2021 we actually had the full product developed and on testnet on the XRPL to already do what we said. It was a stocks marketplace and it was fully working, but at the time, you can go to the next one. It wasn't possible. Broker dealers weren't able to custody and tokenize securities. Like they weren't able to hold digital securities on their books. The T+1 settlement standard wasn't a thing 3 years ago. It's very new, and it has made systems like Coreum and networks like Coreum and XRPL more relevant just because of the speed they facilitate. And also stablecoins. Like if you talk about, let's think about DeFi summer even in 2021, stablecoins and tokenized money markets weren't a thing, and the adoption that these have experienced in the last 3 years has been instrumental to really bridge both worlds, right? Like TradFi and Web3. You can move to the next one. But the core principle of why doing a stocks also has to do with adoption. A lot, these are just some numbers that I pulled from, reports that FINRA did or even Bankrate and other institutions. 44% of Gen Z's ever investment was probably meme tokens. NFTs probably, if we were talking 2 years ago, but now the reality is that they invest in digital assets before TradFi, before they go to a bank, open a brokerage account, and you know potentially put some of their money into mutual funds or create a 401k. So these stats were really interesting to understand why is it relevant to put the stock market on the blockchain from an adoption standpoint, right? Now the next slide, and this is the discussion I gotta go, and you can go to the next one. Is why institutions, right? Like why the issuers of these assets. Let's think about outside of just the Nasdaq and New York Exchange. Let's think about actually uh, any company that wants to issue shares on the blockchain, right? That wants to IPO on the blockchain. Why would they do that? And also why banks should care about having these assets there. And it all comes down to two reasons. At least that's what I found. And of course, like I said, it was a discussion. Some people had other opinions. The first one is just capital mobility, right? And this is why all banks are so excited about stablecoins because they can rehypothecate an asset, they can collateralize an asset, they can do instant settlements across different jurisdictions and just use more money more efficiently, right? Which gives them more revenue. And the second one was because, of course, Web3, they are already a lot of wallets holding USDC, XRP, Solo, Coreum, right? That, like you said, they've been accumulating, or they have these tokens and they want to diversify. They want to invest into real estate. They want to invest into equities and ETFs without having to go the on and off ramp. They just want to stay digital. They use a mobile application and they just want to remain in that realm. And it has to do with convenience, but it also has to do with problems like double taxation, um, currency conversion, and overall time as well. Because like while doing this on the same platform, you are saving time after all.
Right.
So yeah, that was kind of like the beginning of the presentation. I feel like I can take 30 minutes if I keep going, Sen, so stop me. But
So I,
it
I
was more
want
to
to
give context.
I
Yeah.
want to ask you one question. Do you guys think, because I was like looking into Rich Johnson, who's like the, what is he? Is he labeled the visionary or the founder of Solotex? Who's like the founder of Solotex? Or
Well,
is it like a group
Soltex is a
effort,
joint venture.
joint
It's
venture?
a yeah, it's a joint venture that we have with Texture, but ultimately they are the broker dealer. They are the ones that are presenting this to FINRA, right? So yes, Richard is the CEO of Texture, and he really, the way he puts it, right? Like, so he didn't believe in tokenized stocks until we started talking with him,
Really?
because he, like,
Wow.
from a economical standpoint, there are other tokenization avenues that are way more profitable, and that's the reality, right? This is very early. That's why we're pushing the envelope and what can be done with equities on chain. And the way he puts it, it really comes to demand. That's why the talk that I did was focused on distribution, because that's the problem that a lot of other RWA marketplaces have. And yeah, this is a quote that he said during the SEC roundtable. He was saying that the way forward for securities is blockchain as the official record of ownership, smart contracts to automate settlement, and stable coins for cash legs. So it's pretty, this painted a picture for me, and I had it very clearly. But stocks in particular, right? It is demand what is driving it as a first to go to market.
What I want to ask you is, do you guys believe or do you feel that you have some competitive advantage? I remember one time we talked about what's happening with tokenization. It's almost like a arms race, like when people are racing. Like it's very competitive right now. Everyone's trying to like basically compete on building the best solution. Do you guys believe that you have some type of competitive advantage working with a guy like Richard Johnson, who look right here, he spoke at the SEC roundtable. I also seen that he just became on the committee of the FINRA committee. So like, does he give you guys some edge now that you have him working with you guys, and then you guys like he's probably like telling you what you guys need to build on the blockchain to have like all the compliance met? Do you guys feel like he gives you an extra edge now that you're working with him?
Yeah, I'll say two things. Like, one, definitely in terms of regulation and being uh, one of the first to market, at least the one of the first projects that's going to go to market in the US with tokenized stocks. So we're talking about tokenized US stocks for US users. Definitely that's where we have a head start, and having someone like Richard lead the charge is advantageous in all ways, in all shapes and forms. The second point that I wanted to bring is like my personal opinion, right? Like what really gives you a competitive edge in this space, and it has to do with interoperability. Because if you see the next slide in this presentation, is I'm going to quote Brad Garlinghouse, and the fact that without
Oh, here's the platform.
interoperability, yeah, maybe it was like, but what I was trying to say is that
Let me find
without
it.
interoperability, all these
Here it is.
RWA marketplaces are just secluded databases, right? So the more assets, the more diversity of RWAs you have in one platform, that's going to be the advantage, right? Because if you are a platform that is only tokenizing, for example, I don't know, let's think about commodities. You're only tokenizing gold, right? But you can't hedge your gold against stocks or other assets. Like that itself is a powerful advantage, I think, to have many projects, many tokenization projects within the same umbrella. And that is our vision, 100%. But stocks being the first one, like I said, the hardest and the first one. Yeah. Yeah, this quote by Brad, he actually during Apex he mentioned it again, in a similar way that moving money and moving stocks and assets should be as easy as sending email, right? No matter what you are, what currency you're using, or who you want to pay, it's simple. So I think we're getting closer to that, but not quite there yet.
I'm gonna go back to those. Oh wait, what was that quote? Where'd it go? Go backwards a bit. Man, this is a you put this together yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I applied to speak at Apex, and they accepted me, and the Ripple team um, was very nice to give us a slot on the main stage, and we were able to present. But you got to keep in mind that it's not like we were just shilling Solotex. I was more hoping to get a discussion around why tokenizing stocks, and if anyone was doing something similar, right, working together. There were a couple of roundtables during Apex that were very interesting. One of them was about RLUSD, for example. And I think you asked me earlier today about the Genius Act and all of that. So it was great to see on the same table you have institutions, you have other stablecoin issuers, not just RLUSD. You have the developers or foundations like Wormhole that handle Axelar and ourselves that work on the product interoperability side of things, all in the same table discussing of how we're going to make this compete with traditional financial rails. So it was very exciting to be part of that. And I definitely have some insights on that if you want me to share. I'll share some notes on the subject.
Yeah, I asked Quincy Jones. I had Quincy Jones from XCC on yesterday. As I said, has there been a shift in the market since the stablecoin bill? Like, is it making the industry like from your perspective, being on the inside? Like, does that help you guys achieve more? Like, is it people taking this industry more serious? I've seen Uber was looking into getting into stable coins. Now Ripple, you guys connected, already have RLUSD, USDC available on the Sologenic DEX. Like, how big of an impact was that bill for you guys?
I think it's part of an ongoing, effort that we're seeing, and it definitely sets a clearer path for what we can do from a product standpoint. I think it's very positive, but I also think that it's just the beginning. One of the topics that surfaced on this roundtable was on-chain effects and just how large banks still rely on CLS, which is like a continuous linked settlement system, and how stablecoins are not yet accepted in those types of systems, right? So like banks are like Citibank are still settling money in cash, like in fiat, that could be much more efficient and faster with stablecoins. So what I'm trying to say is like institutional adoption wise, we're still even on that standpoint earlier. For us in Web3, it looks like everyone has a stablecoins now, right? But what I'm trying to say is like this act really sets the path forward for the adoption on the institutional front to really happen, where the money is moving and not just on the Web3 protocol side of things.
So right now we're looking at the Solotex platform itself. Remember, if you guys are excited about what this conversation, join the wait list. You got to put your information in. So earlier you said there has been a new update based on your conversations. I remember you guys put up some ads to fund your account with USDC, and you thought you were gonna have to create a new wallet. Now we're gonna be able to just connect the current Coreum wallet that we have now, and be able to access a platform that looks like this and fund our account and use that USDC stablecoin to trade into these assets. Would we be able to exit pretty easily back into Coreum? Like
Yeah,
if we
yeah,
want to like,
100%.
okay, I'm done with this Amazon stock. I want to get back to Coreum. It'd be pretty easy just to swap back or
Yeah, I mean, I cannot speak specifically which assets will be supported from day one, but yes, you can connect your own wallet, and we're gonna support stable coins, so you can then invest into tokenized stocks. So, and the other way around, it also works. Like if you want to sell your Tesla, like you said, and you get stables, and then you can go back to crypto. It's meant to work both like round ways. Of course, during the first launch, right, we're not gonna have all of the DeFi functionality that we wish we could, but you're gonna be able to remain on chain while investing in traditional securities and leverage the 20, the after hours trading. There's a couple of interesting ones that are gonna be upcoming, like for example, collateralizing your stocks to then that has to do with what you're saying, like okay, I invested in stocks, I made a profit, but I want to go back into crypto. So maybe you can collateralize your stocks, get some stables, invest into Coreum again or other cryptocurrencies. And the other thing is P2P trading, right? Like being able to let's say you and me want to exchange a stock, no matter the price, right? I want to sell it to you for I don't know 50 cents on the dollar, regardless of the market price. So that P2P trading, it's an upcoming feature. I think it's interesting too. And personalized ETFs is also something that we are hoping to have on the long run, which is pretty much like you being able to curate your own basket of investments and other people being able to, see it and invest in and follow it, which is similar to what a lot of crypto exchanges do with copy trading. But of course, this would have to be regulated because you're dealing with US equities.
Wow. Wow, man, this sounds pretty cool, man. This sounds like it's like you guys had a pretty big vision from the beginning, and it seems like the vision just keeps growing and growing and getting more and more exciting. I had something I wanted to bring up. I'm trying to remember, but yeah, I guess we could get into some Corium updates and some Sologenic updates beyond Solotex. If you guys got any updates on like when the Dex is going to be more like available for the average person to start like accessing the Dex on Corium? Oh, let
Yeah,
me
no,
finish that question. I remember.
well, I was going to talk about the Sologenic dex. So recently we listed six regulated stablecoins on the dex that are fully tradable. So now you can have USDC native on the XRPL, which I think it sounds like it's not a big deal, but it really unifies the user experience. If you are in Corium or you're in other ecosystems and you just bridge your USDC and you can invest in all of the XRPL tokens, you can buy the new tokens that are being issued on the ledger as well. You can filter that on the market index, and everything is streamlined now on Sologenic. One of those is also Euro P, which is by Schumann Financial, and they provide an easier on-ramping one-to-one for anyone that has euros and wants to, get into the deck. So keep an eye out for that. We're going to keep improving the product and working with these new institutions that are issuing on the XRP ledger. And on the Korean front, now that you mentioned, yeah, we wanted to go builders first, right? So we're hoping Pulsara and Cruise Control launch in the next month. And once that happens, I think we'll have a clear vision of what type of exchange we'd want to support. But ultimately, the order book is there. And I think an important use case for it is going to be the liquidity router that I don't know if I told you a couple months ago that it's on the horizon for us to develop because that will plug into Solotex, that will plug into the Solo Cards project.
Solo
It's very
cards.
important. Yeah,
Yeah, you told me about
so
the router. That's going to be pretty important for a lot of different features, huh?
yeah, because if you think about it right now, how do you swap tokens, right? You go to a third party swap that plugs into a centralized exchange order book. They get the spread, they get the fees, and it's not reliable as well. Not, so we want to address this at the protocol level and just make it so it doesn't matter where this swap is going and taking liquidity from. Like it can go from XRPL to Corium, XRPL AMM or order book, Corium AMM or order book, and it will get you the best price for your trade for your swap. Um, yeah, I'm excited for that.
One last question about Solotex I just remembered from earlier. So, do you think that it's going to be like because crypto is pretty Wild West, super permissionless, right? And like, do you think it's going to be like controlled in the early stages of real world assets? Then as time goes on, there's going to be a lot. It's going to become more loose and more crypto. Like, do you think that it'll become more crypto friendly as time goes on? Uh, because it's like a super regulated industry, but like as time goes on and as they see things working out, do you think that we could eventually see these real world assets on like permissionless type dexes and stuff and liquidity pools and stuff like that? Like, do you think it's like, well, that's not going to happen right out the gate, but over time it will become more like friendly? How do you see it playing out?
I mean, I'll give you my realistic view and my optimistic one. So my realistic one is that the problem right now it's counterparty risk. So DIDs exist and they are manageable. Like you can tokenize your identity and then your wallet has a Solvang token that says you are, you're Fabio Velarde and you're KYC on this exchange, so you can hold this asset and whatnot. The problem is that between providers, between asset issuers, even if they use the same KYC provider, it's too much of a risk for them to trust it. So that's why right now if you want to invest in RWAs with no, I don't know other securitized, right? And then you want to invest with Sologenic, you have to do two separate KYC processes. So what we're trying to do is okay, that problem is going to take a while to figure itself out because it has to do, and Brad mentioned this during Apex. You would have to get the governments involved because the governments are the ones that own your identity. But anyways, it's a deeper
Whoa.
conversation. So we're
Yeah.
trying to solve this by aggregating more RWAs onto the same app. And we had some plans around that, but Solotex is going to lead the charge, like I mentioned, being the most, the one that includes the most assets and also one of the first of a kind. There's no tokenized stock marketplace in the US right now. So, yeah.
So, I remember a conversation a few months back with Mike that they were hoping to make it very retail friendly from the early days, create like a network effect and attract institutions to come over. Have the institutions already seen? And I mean, if it's the only U.S. and you guys are gonna be the head start, like I could imagine that institutions would want to plug into this and offer their our institutions basically showing interest into this app at this moment in time beyond retail. Like how?
Yeah, absolutely. But the utmost value of Solotex is retail. Like institutions in Wall Street, like they can access stocks on demand already in the US. So the value proposition it really is for Web3 native investments, net Web3 native users, at least on version one. What institutions are mostly interested on is what I mentioned about rehypothecating assets and collateralization and just more
Oh,
capital mobility use cases around stocks, right? Like if they can settle trades from, New York, Tokyo, and Paris using the same tokenized asset, that's what they're hungry for, and that's what we're gonna aim to facilitate what it through tokenization, through the asset tokenization gateway actually, and also other asset issuers. So aside from stocks, there's private credit, there's IP. I'm very excited about IP rights specifically, like you being able to invest in the money that goes into a movie, for example, and being able to liquidate before the movie is even made because there's a market for that token for those shares. Like there's a whole world that it's untapped there, and that's where institutions are also hungry for more than accessing stocks on demand.
they brought the something that I've been really interested in learning about, and like something I've been like going back on some of Bob's old posts. The asset tokenization gateway. And when we look at the Solotex website, Quorum infrastructure, I'm not sure exactly the interoperability aspects, the gas token aspects. Is Sologenic still playing a key role in the ecosystem that you guys are building as far as being like the asset tokenization engine? Like, is that tokenization gateway? via Sologenic still like in the pipeline, and will it be multi-chain like available on Coreum and Sologenic? Like that feature is because I think that the community needs some clarity on that
Yeah,
because
no, 100%. Like Solotex, like I mentioned, it's think of it as an app, right? It's one of the use cases of our tokenization engine. It's just like Fireblocks partnered with, I don't know, another broker dealer, and they were the tokenization engine, facilitating anything from the infrastructure and the token issuance and the product build itself. So that's what Sologenic is doing with Texture, but we are still working on the asset tokenization gateway as a key part specifically of institutional adoption, right? So yeah, I hope that brings some clarity and interoperability. Like I mentioned, cross-chain is fundamental. So I hope that answers your question too.
so that basically means that like that would be Sologenic's job in the ecosystem is like being that gateway where Corium is like role in the ecosystem is the infrastructure. Cause like I remember this thing that on the Sologenic website says tokenize RWA on demand, and then you got Solonex, which is like the tokenization for the brokers, the turnkey tokenization for the broker. So this will like advance and also be available on the Corium blockchain, basically. So it wouldn't just be on XRPL anymore.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this, if you think about it, when we wrote this page, no broker dealer was allowed to hold digital securities yet. So the demand for these solutions was not there yet. A lot has changed. So I think it's safe to say that we'll still have this in some shape or another. Maybe it's not going to be called Solonex specifically, but the core part of it is going to be an asset tokenization gateway that potentially evolves into an aggregator, like an index marketplace where you can track and invest in all of these RWAs, not just the ones that we're doing with Solitex.
Wow, man. Seems pretty big. And yeah, this was a big question for the
I probably
community.
said I probably said more than I should have, but
Yeah, well,
uh,
I remember that Bob had a post back in the day being like Solo is going to be like or even Reza had a post like Quorum is like the Microsoft and then Sologenic is like a one of the products on the Microsoft or something like that. And then Bob was like that Solo is going to be available on like on both chains too. So, yeah, man,
yeah,
this is a
yeah. I
great
mean, if
conversation.
you ask me, right, I would have done it already. You have to keep in mind also, like, the scope of my responsibilities are limited, and there's a lot that is not up to me to do. But what I am responsible for, I'm working day and night to facilitate, and that is getting Solotex up and running. And I'm definitely gonna need your help to really make it user friendly and overall get anyone that has been a holder to get the value out of it, to be able to invest and the features that they want. We always listen to that. There's going to be a social feed on Solitex as well. And I have so many ideas on how to gamify it and really, potentially implement a referral type of program. Or the way I see it is like if you can share your stocks, and it comes down to financial literacy, right? Like that's what you do, Sen. Like you teach people how to really understand the tech behind what they're putting their money on, and I think there are tools that can make this easier uh, on the same application.
Yeah, everyone will make sure you guys join the wait list for Solotex. This is going to be a big thing coming to U.S. markets, so make sure to get on the wait list. I'm super pumped up. I'm super excited. Yeah, so it's kind of like how like you have your profile with the NFTs. You know how you could go on and see all the NFTs someone's holding. You think you would have the same features on you could create a profile, someone could click your profile and be like, "Oh, that guy's holding this, this, and this," and you could like
Yeah,
flex your
yeah,
stocks
yeah,
a
yeah.
little.
So
Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be
that's
cool.
upcoming. It's one of the upcoming ones because it does have to do with regulation, but you're getting my point. Like if you were able to share the stocks that this week you are believing in, right? As if you shared a playlist on Spotify,
Whoa.
that would be great, like especially for content creators
For the
and
Gen
content
Z
honestly
kids, the
yeah,
Gen Z kids
content
will love
is a
it.
new currency. Like everyone knows, like everything is moving on content. You can see startups that instead of investing in traditional marketing, they invest in content creator houses, they invest in having personal build up audiences online through videos, interviews, and a brand. So definitely aligned with that, and Solotex is for the new generations, 100%.
Well, let's save some juice. She gave us a lot of information on this one, and we're talking about going on a marathon sprint until August when Solotex is launching. So we're gonna be doing a lot for the community the next few weeks, gearing
Yeah,
up.
keep an eye
So
out.
this is
We
a
might
good.
go ahead. I
So
was gonna
this,
say we might open up KYC before the launch just to get people already signed up and kind of do some early access. I don't have it confirmed, but I'm gonna vouch for it.
so this is the call to action. All Solo Nation, all Quorum community, you guys gotta get ready. Get ready for an epic couple weeks. We're gonna be doing a Twitter space next week, and I believe the CEO, Mike himself, is gonna make a special appearance. And we're gonna be, these are gonna be great times to invite new friends to come and learn about what we're doing and onboard people to the community. So we're gonna be doing a lot of like community conversations and activations online to spread the word about Solotex. The mission is to have 300,000 people signed up and onboarded the first few weeks of Solotex. So we need all the community to step up to the plate and join the next Twitter space. I believe it's going to be on Tuesday. And Fabio is going to drop more information. It's going to be a lot of things rolling out the next few weeks. And remember, this podcast is brought to you by Zen Lounge Validator. And you could stake with Zen Lounge if you have Coreum, start earning around 40% APR. That's not going to be around forever. That's like the early bird gets the worm incentives. So yeah, stake to Zen Lounge Validator if you appreciate the work that we put in for the Quorum blockchain. And Fabio, any last closing statements you would like to share with us?
I'm excited for the next event. I mean, your Vegas activation was a hit, so
Yeah, that was crazy.
definitely excited to
The
see a
DJ,
lot of familiar faces.
your DJ
Oh
set was on
yeah.
fire, man. Yeah, Fabio DJ'd everything. That
I
was sick.
actually played a like a Solotech song. It was kind of low
What?
key, but
You
yeah,
have a
it
Solotech
was fun.
song?
I'll share it. But no, man, it's all about the real life connection. Like I think you know that, and you've hosted some key events in the last 3 years. So really looking forward to that. Once we're live, right? Once we're live, everything's gonna change. We're gonna be able to talk about this like it's your banking app, like it's something you use every day, and that's where we hope to be at, compete with, not with other tokenization providers, but with traditional investment apps.
Yeah, my friend, actually a close guy, one of the Zen Lounge members, his close friend babysat Richard Johnson's kids growing up. Very small world, and he's been trying to get Richard Johnson to do an interview with me, and Richard Johnson keeps going, "It's not time yet. It's not time yet." So, I imagine once the app goes live, like Richard is going to be more part of the community, and things are really going to be going crazy for us. So, I'm excited, man. I'm
Yeah, I
excited.
mean, I don't think there's a lot of communities that have someone sitting in the FINRA board and the SEC roundtables. And so I
Insane.
think he sees the value, he sees the value in having direct feedback from you guys, having a, a first audience that is going to actually use this. And that's the most important thing when you launch a product, right? To get the first 30 days feedback, improve it, improve it, improve it until we get to a point where it's something that everyone is happy to share organically. That's how you win. So I think he sees that value and happy to facilitate when the time comes.
Cool. Well, this is a great discussion. It lasted longer than I was expecting. Let's close this
Yeah,
out.
I'm gonna
And
go get some food now. Enjoy the
yeah,
weekend.
I've been drinking this glass Coke. It's actually super bomb. There's no corn
Oh,
syrup in
glass Coke's
these.
better than plastic. Yeah, no
Yeah, there's no corn
microplastics.
syrup in it too, which I learned. So I got some caffeine in there, so I'm pretty good.
Oh, is that the Mexican Coke? Because like they have Mexican Coke, we get like different sugar or something.
Yeah, I was like surprised. Like Mexican Coke has better ingredients than here in America. So yeah, I'm all amped up. I'm gonna finish it. All right, guys. I'll let you guys go. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and peace out, everyone.